some of my extraterrestrial friends are here, and they're saying, and we're here to help. We're here to help.
Tell us how they're here to help. I think a lot of people want to know, and we've been hearing this.
Okay. First of all, some of them are strictly here to help the earth. Okay. Not us, the earth. They are holding a frequency to keep the earth in check because God, as the God that I know and have met and have experienced, does not create the turmoil that's on the planet. God is not a God of wrath and vengeance. God is not to be feared. God is to be embraced because guess what? You have the God gene within you. And if you really want an exciting experience, when you're meditating, affirm, I am activating the God gene within me. I am accessing, activating, accelerating, and anchoring consciously the God gene within me now. The only caveat to that is
My guest today is Barbara Gail, who may look familiar to you because she was on the show recently talking about some of her near-death experiences. But we decided that we wanted to have a deeper conversation because one of the values of having somebody on the show who's had a near-death experience is that they see things from a different perspective. Not only do they understand themselves and how they are navigating their life in this world, but they have information that can help us all. And Barbara and I had a really meaningful conversation after our interview, and we decided we wanted to come back and address a couple of topics that we really didn't get to dive into. And in addition, Barbara's going to share her most recent near-death experience that we did not talk about last time. So you want to stay tuned for this amazing conversation. So Barbara, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today.
hi there, sweetheart. How are you doing today?
I am so great. You know why? Because I get to talk to you.
Well, I want to send something out to all of your viewers.
Oh, love it.
Just coming to planet Earth, everybody deserves a Purple Heart. Everybody.
That's so much.
I saw that in my mind when I was meditating before we started the show. And I saw everybody with a Purple Heart. And I thought, is there some way on my MacBook, Air laptop, I can do that?
So I want to share something about you.
Okay.
At the end of our conversation, I did not keep a piece of our conversation intact. I did not keep it in the interview. I edited it out because Barbara is so connected. She disclosed information and gave me a message from the other side about something that only like 3 other people on the planet knew about. And it was so meaningful. And I was like, this is the real deal. Like, nobody knows this. And she did. And she was able to share some really, really meaningful information. And I think that that's the value of somebody who has mediumistic availabilities. I've been pretty vocal on my show about how over time I have gone to mediums for a long time to help enhance my understanding of different things that have happened, different events in my life, different people, different soul contracts, etc. And I just wanted to say that I feel that Barbara having 4 near-death experiences has opened her up so completely to the other side that she has a very clear channel and she hears messages that are absolutely verifiable. They're incredible and incredibly healing. So thank you, Barbara.
Thank you, sweetheart. Thank you so much. When I started giving messages, according to my mom, I was only 3 years old.
Wow.
So that was before any near-death experiences. And I didn't know the words of meditation. I didn't know the words of mediumship or channeling. I did what I did because it was who I was and who I am. And of course, as I grew and I learned all of these different terminologies, some people tried to get me to learn tarot and astrology and different methods. And to be, agreeable, I tried, but I couldn't do it because the information would come in faster than any tarot card. So I'm not saying anything against those methodologies, just that they were never my path. That it was always direct, 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 direct. And I'm probably too impatient to wait for astrology or tarot cards anyway. It just yeah, it's just not my personality.
So, can you share with the audience, do you remember the first message that you got from spirits that when you understood that it was something that you were able to verify that it impacted you, that you were really surprised by it?
Well,
I'm sure you have a lot of them, but like the first one
yeah,
that you really touched you.
yeah. Um, my childhood was pretty brutal. There was, quite a bit of abuse and incest, and I had visits from angels, and I predominantly had visits from Christ. And my family was Jewish, so Christ was never spoken about ever. And he would come and talk to me, and I knew what he looked like was not any of the pictures I'd ever seen. And I remember telling my mom for the first time about because they were arguing in my home. There was a lot of arguing always going on, and how Christ didn't like that. And this is a child speaking, and that we needed to find ways to make peace. And my mother almost exploded because she's this Jewish mother, and I'm telling her, "Well, Jesus doesn't like this, and he wants us to find ways to get along and have peace." And it was very difficult for my family, mostly for my mom. My dad said that, well, he was a nice Jewish boy, don't worry about it, she could be talking about worse things. So God bless that, at least. But that was probably the first thing. The second thing was I introduced myself one day and I told them, I said, "Your daughter's not here anymore. She left, she went back to Jupiter. She didn't like it. But I came from Jupiter," and I gave them my name is Kakrika from Jupiter. And of course, I had two brothers who thought that was hilarious. And, I was kind of ostracized. But this year, I found out that when I was on Jupiter, I found out from Alora that my name, as I got older, it's just also amazing. But on Jupiter, as you progress in knowledge, they give you a different name. And then my name became Alora. And Alora meant revered one, but not in a status way. They don't have status. It was more in this is how much wisdom you've gained. This is how much knowledge you have. And so I that was just also so incredible because the way we do things on Earth, we think that's the only way there is, but it obviously there is not. And so I have learned so much about life on other planets. That was really, I mean, Christ is not a person. He is a frequency. He is an energy, he is a consciousness now. And that's why he can be seen all over the world at the same time. When you have people saying they've seen Mother Mary here or Mother Mary there, well, that's because they're an energy, they're a frequency, and they will let you see that body image that you can identify with. But it's not by location of a physical body. It's literally they're throwing this image of themselves because that's how you would recognize them. So through my near-death experiences and through the way I was born, I've been able to gather so much information. And what you said earlier, the information that I gave you that nobody but a few people knew about, I've heard that before in readings, and I don't remember what I tell people. And that's the way I want it because I feel kind of crazy, but that's why I say it's not what I do, it's who I am. And I've always taken it in stride because if you were a natural gifted musician, you would take it in stride because it's who
Right.
you are.
Yes.
And so I flow with this. And
Beautiful.
I love this because the world's in chaos now. People are scared. And maybe other near-death experiences feel this way too, or people who meditate and have out-of-body experiences and spiritually transformative experiences and experiences with extraterrestrials. that's meant to give you hope and to give you knowledge that we're on the fast train here on Earth. And we have accelerated recently a lot because we are going to shift very quickly soon. And these are like the birth pains right now. It's like giving birth, and it's messy and it's painful. But take your near death experiences, take all those amazing moments that you've had and say, okay, but this is to show me, okay, we're going to make it. You know, even if we're not going to make it here, we're going to make it elsewhere because this is not the end of life. This is not the be all, do all, end all. And we will be reunited with our loved ones. And that's kind of a segue for me into this other subject of, I just want to mention briefly suicide, because I had a friend who took her life and she was not allowed to be buried in her church or have services in the church or anything because she took her life. And I've got to tell you that the universe does not agree with that. Let's put it that way. That's something that's made here on Earth because there is no sense of judgment. And I have since seen Sandy, and Sandy has laughed with me and talked with me. And so nothing bad happened to her. It was simply the way that she wanted to leave, and God sanctioned it. And that's it. There was no judgment on it. And the same thing goes for, I'll address this too. Thank you, guidance is throwing this in, cremation. Because
Mm.
I know being in my family and in Judaism, you don't get cremated. And my mother had my dad cremated without even telling us kids. And I had some woman who knew my parents call me after that. And she was yelling at me, how could I allow my dad to be cremated? Because now he won't be able to stand before God. And I was appalled because on the very night, oh my God, on the very night of my dad's passing, I was in Colorado on the sofa, no lights on in the living room, just a candle burning. My mom was in a different state. And suddenly standing in front of me is my dad. And he's talking to me. And he even he even reached over and moved the bangs off my forehead because he never liked me to have them. He was able to manipulate energetically, moving the hair off my forehead. And he gave me information about his and mom's life in high school that I kept telling mom, and she's screaming, oh my God, that's true, that's true, that's true. So suicide, there is no judgment in universal consciousness about it. This is just another way to leave. I'm not saying, I'm not advocating for doing it because you want to finish as much as you can while you're here, but there's no shame attached to it. There's no punishment. Let me say that, because as I said, I saw Sandy many times after she crossed over, and she's doing well. And
I
it's,
love that you're bringing so much comfort to people by saying that, Barbara.
this guidance is just throwing this at me so quickly, what to bring up. And then the other part is about whatever I was just talking about, cremation or burial, doesn't matter. Your soul doesn't need the body to exist. You are a soul, and your soul continues on. Your soul just grabbed onto this body. This is my body now. This time, this is it, but it's not who I am. So that's why it doesn't matter. These are silly things that humans made up. And I'm going to segue that into, there's so much heartache and grief when there are stillborn children, or when children are not born, or when there is an abortion, or when there is a crib death. The grief is just too much to bear. And I remember when I had a miscarriage and I was at my aunt's funeral and suddenly I was hemorrhaging. And I had to have my then husband took me to the emergency room, and they said, we have to do a D&C. You're having a miscarriage. And I didn't even know I was pregnant. And I grieved and grieved because of that. And then there was another child later, many years later, that was not born. And I want to share with you what happened because I grieved over that child also. every single day. And I was with my daughter, and we were interviewing people to take my grandson for daycare. And we went to this home, and the mother and grandmother were doing this together, and they were absolutely delightful. But the daughter wanted to alert us that her son was very shy, and she said that he would not want to come anywhere near us. He doesn't approach new people, so he'll be hiding somewhere. You might see him poking his little head out, but don't talk to him, don't approach him. And if he gets comfortable, he'll come over to you. So we said okay, and we went downstairs, and all the kids were playing. And suddenly I see the most adorable little face poking out from behind the chair. But what happened is he came running, yelling, "Mommy, mommy, where have you been?" So of course we all expected him to run to his mom, who was standing next to us, and he ran to me. And he threw his arms around my legs, my knees, because that's all he could reach. And he's practically in tears going, "Mommy, mommy, where were you? Where were you? I've been talking to you. I've been looking for you everywhere. I've missed you." And I got down on my knees and I held him. And now I'm crying and I'm like, "Oh my God, oh my God." And then I literally, as God is my witness, I literally hear God talking to me, saying to me, "We wanted to reunite you so the two of you could be free of this grief, so you could both go on. Each of you could be free of this. We wanted to bring you back together." And then right after that, he kissed me and I kissed him. And he goes, "I love you, mommy." And then he went and played with the kids. To this day, my daughter doesn't talk about it. Um, we did not leave my grandson there because I was told that we were supposed to leave, that this was literally for the healing moment, the teaching, the gift that this child and I were given. His name is Chris. And secretly, I always have hopes that I would find him again, but I don't know if that's meant to be in this lifetime. And when we left, nobody knew what to say to each other. We barely spoke 2 words, just "nice meeting you, goodbye." Yeah, it was too much. It was too much for the mother, the grandmother, my daughter, me. It was overwhelming. But the child, Chris, he did really well. He was happy. He was celebratory. So there is no stigma, esoterically speaking, because when a woman conceives, the soul doesn't even stay in the body. And sometimes there are these contracts that we make before we come in, and a soul says, "Look, I only need a couple minutes, and then I'm done. I'm finished. I'm not incarnating again." And somebody like me raises their hand and says, "Okay, I can do it. I can do it." They're like, "You sure you'll be able to handle it?" "Yeah, yeah, yeah, I can handle it." And so I'll take on this oh job, and then I will lose the child, won't have the child, whether it's an abortion or a miscarriage. And I don't remember the contract. I don't remember the agreement. And I'm in grief every single day. I am in grief. And then God gave this gift. And I have to believe that God not only gave the gift for this child, for Chris and for me, but for everybody who can hear this message. Please, please, please do not blame yourself. You didn't do anything wrong. It wasn't that you didn't take enough vitamins. And if you had an abortion, it wasn't that you did anything wrong. The child never intended to stay. There is never an abortion that the soul does not know about before they come in. This was an agreement. I promise you, I have been told that. I've been shown that. And everything that I want to talk about today, guidance keeps saying the word freedom, 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 is to give you your freedom. Women in particular have been shamed and abused and put down because women carry nothing against men, obviously, but they carry a particular light, like the Pistis Sophia or Mary Magdalene. Mary Magdalene was every bit as qualified as Jesus Christ, every bit. But all of this was hidden because the church wanted control and they wanted to keep women in their place. And I was shown, oh God, I think it was back in 2016, 2014. Guidance showed me that there, I don't know how many people are aware of this, but there have been other races and other civilizations that we don't know anything about living on this planet because there's no footprint, because we're not supposed to know about them. And there was a matriarchal society, and I was shown how they conceive and how a child was brought into being. And it was mind blowing. All of this nonsense about men sleeping with men or women sleeping with women, it doesn't matter. It literally doesn't matter. And what I was shown was that two women were sitting together. It is incredible. They were sitting literally feet touching feet. So they were across from one another and the feet were touching each other. The hands are up in some kind of like really beautiful, like they were doing some kind of ritual and they were singing and they were chanting and they were giving praise and love and connecting with the divine creator. And then I could not hardly believe my eyes. I seen this form, something, a form of light coming in, coming down in between them, taking shape, and then becoming a human form. And it was an infant. And they were rejoicing. That's how a new life used to come into being on earth. And that's because they were connected. I say we because I remember it so well now. We were connected to our divinity, to our power source, to God, to the whole connection of what we were fully capable of doing. But humanity has become so disconnected because it was drummed into us. I mean, in Orthodox Judaism, and I went to an Orthodox service, oh, maybe 15 years ago to see what it was like in this point in time. And women were still having to sit on one side, and the men were still sitting on the other side, and the women had to piously sit and read while the men got to walk around the Torah, singing and chanting and enjoying themselves. In Native American teachings, women during their menstrual cycle, and I don't know if this is still true, were not allowed to go into certain rituals because they were on their menstrual cycle. Their power was too much. I mean, all of this, I almost want to call it superstition, but it feels to me like more like control, keeping women in their place. And there are men who help change this,
Mm.
who were and are in touch with their sensitivity and their feminine, divine feminine. And the divine feminine energy is part of what is creating so much chaos on the planet now because it is making a big return. And
Oh,
that male dominance, the part that does not want to embrace their sensitivity, their empathy, their compassion, is fighting it like crazy because they think they don't want to lose control. And yet they will have more control or more power or more love, light, and joy once they embrace it.
wow. Oh my gosh, Barbara, this is
I
so powerful.
didn't know I was going to say any of this.
I love that. I love this.
I'm looking at you, I'm talking to you, but I'm listening to guidance and I'm watching what they're showing me. And I've worked with many psychologists as clients. I was even married to one for a while. And they'll always say you can't have two things at one time going on. It's not possible. And I'm like, oh yeah, actually you can't. Because I'm listening to the inner planes, I'm looking at what they're showing me, I'm talking to you, and I'm making it look like, oh, this is just natural. But it's because I've done it my entire life, and this
Yeah.
is made to do. So all of the problems that we literally are having in the world today and that we've had is this disconnect from our spirit,
Mm, I
from
agree. I
from the divine
agree.
light, from because people are so afraid and they're only afraid because they don't remember their divinity.
Yes.
There is a Whew, there is a movement happening where people are starting to wake up and other people know it and they don't want it to happen because they're going to lose control. And thank you. And some of my extraterrestrial friends are here and they're saying, and we're here to help. We're here to help.
Tell us how they're here to help. I think a lot of people want to know, and we've been hearing this. How are they here to help?
Okay. First of all, some of them are strictly here to help the earth. Okay. Not us, the earth. They are holding a frequency to keep the earth in check because God, as the God that I know and have met and have experienced, does not create the turmoil that's on the planet. Thank you. Well, I don't know if you heard that, but there's this loud crack that just happened in the ceiling. It's like an exclamation point. God is not a God of wrath and vengeance. God is not to be feared. God is to be embraced because guess what? You have the God gene within you. And if you really want an exciting experience, when you're meditating, affirm, I am activating the God gene within me. I am accessing, activating, accelerating, and anchoring consciously the God gene within me now. The only caveat to that is you might want to say, and I am activating this at a pace I can handle. I admit I don't do that. It's not my nature to do that. But some people, the energy is too much. So maybe, if you know yourself well enough, say, I am accessing that which created me, the God of my understanding. I am activating the God gene within me. I am accelerating this God gene activity to enlighten me at a pace that I can handle. And I am anchoring this into my consciousness. And I say that because so much goes on in our subconscious. We're just not aware of it. So if you want the fullness of the experience, you want to have it anchored into your consciousness, literally as above, so below.
Beautiful. Oh my gosh, I love that. No, I've promised people that we were going to talk about your near-death experience, and we are going to talk about that. But I want to stay right here, right now, because you're connecting with your guidance, and we're talking about these aliens. So, will you explain to people in a way that they can understand what is an extraterrestrial?
You are.
Thank you.
You are, and you, and you, and you, and you. Nobody's indigenous to Earth. So the whole concept in a way is kind of ridiculous. We're all from the light and we incarnated here, but I've been on Jupiter, I've been on Venus, I've been in so many different places, and all of us have. So we're all aliens, but those who are non-human intelligence, I think that is the catchphrase now, they come from many planets. You've heard of the Lemurians and the Palladians and the star seeds, and Dolores Cannon has a lot to say about all these different um, groups of people who came in at different times in the 40s and 50s and 60s and 70s and their gifts and abilities. I only know what I was born with. I was fully opened and awake and it never shut down. That's what I know. But they have different, what they're here, the little, on my website, I have pictures of green ones and they're kind of like a beautiful bluish green orb. And I had two clients that came to my office independently of one another, don't know each other, and they both had the same picture. One was up in, I think it was, she lives in Snowmass, yeah, in Snowmass in Colorado. And there was a break in the ice. And she took this picture and she says, "What is this?" And another woman had come and she was in, I think it was Montana. It's on the kind of UFO page on my website. And hers was by a lake. Well, when I was in San Diego and I was down by the ocean and I was praying and meditating, and then I came back in the car and I get in the car, close the door, and suddenly I'm like this right in front of me, between me and the wheel. And there's not very much room there. Is this turquoise green being staring at me, and where eyes would be is white light emanating. I didn't have the presence of mind to grab my phone. I wish I had. like these women did, but I didn't. And I said, "Who are you and what are you doing here?" Because that's what I do, you know? And that's what everybody should do. You should always ask. I get questions all the time from people. Who was this and who was that? I go, did you ask? And they always say no. So I was told, that's when it was explained to me, the reason you always see us by the water is because this is our connection point with Earth. And this is how we are helping to spread this higher frequency to hold the Earth together. And they explained to me that when humanity, who seems to have lost a lot of its humanity, not all of us, obviously, but when we are in anger, in war, when all of the lower vibrations and frequencies and behaviors and thoughts are happening, it is affecting the earth. Besides the fact, first, it affects your health. Where do you think all these diseases come from? I mean, including your high blood pressure and everything else. I mean, people are creating it for themselves, but humans are creating all of this chaos with the planet. And so they said they are holding the planet together because they don't want that kind of chaos in the universe where we're going to destroy Earth. There are other beings here who have told me they are doing everything to avoid us having a nuclear war and shooting off bombs that are, again, going to affect the universe. There are others who help us in mundane ways. John, and I have a whole page on my website about John, commander of Spaceship Five for weather control. I met him when I was with a friend coming back from New Mexico. And we saw a woman whose home had these magnificent statues and stopped to talk to her and kind of ooh and ah about the statues. When I saw a spaceship, I'm watching the spaceship in her backyard, above her backyard. And I finally broke into their conversation and said, "Do you know you have a spaceship in your backyard?" And she was so excited. She says, "Nobody ever sees it. Come on in, come on in." So she and my friend, she took my friend in the backyard to see it because suddenly this being is standing in front of me and he tells me telepathically, "Stay here. I want to speak with you." And I was riveted to my spot. And John told me, "You are going to need my help with the weather, and I want you to call on me." And he was mostly this gorgeous royal blue, but shades of blue and white again coming from his what would we place his eyes, and some kind of silver white color. He was very tall and very slender. And my friend, when she came back from the backyard, because she didn't really believe that she'd see anything, she was trying to deal with it because she said, "Oh my God, there's a spaceship in her backyard." They allowed her to see it. And it was a couple of years, I think later, maybe 2 years, and I was coming down from Crestone, Colorado. And there's pretty high mountain up in Crestone, Colorado. And my friend was driving, and suddenly there was a whiteout. I mean, if you've ever seen a whiteout or been in a whiteout, you can't see anything, nothing. This snowbank just appeared, and Rick's like, "Oh my God," gripping the wheel. Where does the end of this, cliff go? And I just spontaneously screamed out, "John, commander of Spaceship Five for weather control, I need your help now. I need you to get rid of this whiteout and give us clear visibility all the way down the mountain." And again, as God is my witness, it was gone. It was gone, and all the way down the mountain, we drove down safely. So
So who is he, Barbara? Who is he? He's not somebody on this planet. He's somebody.
he's from another planet. He never
Okay.
told me what planet, but oh gosh, I wish I had printed this out to show you. I could look it up in my email, but I received an email 3 days ago from a client that I had done a reading for. And we told her about John. She lives in California. Been having a lot of weather problems, she had said, and fires and rain. And she was told to call on John for help. And she told me that there was this horrible weather pattern that was happening, and the rain was happening, and fires were happening. And she was looking at the app on her phone, and she's like, oh my God, this is coming right towards my house. And she said it was 3 o'clock in the morning, and she started screaming for John's help. And she said from 3 to 5 a.m., I kept asking him for help. And she said they showed on the app. I mean, this is so mind blowing. There was a hole in this, and it didn't touch her home. It literally did not touch where she was. I'm getting chills on my legs and my arms. So, does he do this all the time? Can he do it all the time? It's not that he can or can't do it all the time, it's that it's not always allowed.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we need to go through certain experiences to learn, maybe to work together with other people, maybe to be more generous and share what we have. Give our water, give our food, give our help, take somebody in if their house has gone down and ours is standing. So there's a multitude of reasons. And thank you. Guidance is saying, all right, I can't talk that fast. This also ties in, goes back to near death experiences. When a person has a near death experience, it affects everybody. When I had the peanut anaphylaxis, and I had told the guy in the restaurant, no peanuts, no peanut oil, but he did it anyway. It affected him, it affected his job, it affected the restaurant, it affected everybody in the emergency room. And I remember hearing them saying, we're going to lose her. And I just really didn't care. I was like doing what I was doing. My dad was greeting me there in the light. I just wanted to stay there with him, but I wasn't allowed to. So everything that happened to me had an effect on everybody else. And that's an important key. Think about your near-death experience. How did it affect everyone else? Because we're not alone in our experiences and in our learning. Everything we go through, it's affecting somebody, right? If you're in a bad mood, it's going to affect someone, even if you don't talk to anyone that day. That energy that you're emitting is affecting your plants, it's affecting your cat, your dog, your bird, it's affecting your neighborhood. Which, thank you. All right. Guidance says, which reminds you that you've got to center yourself in the morning. You have got to do a prayer, which is literally giving thanks, giving gratitude, and holding others in the light and the earth. And then when you're in meditation, you are receiving. And so you want to receive, you want to ask for, like I work with our Holy Archangel Michael, but he told me to call him Holy Archangel Michael. And so that's how I say his name. And I saw him once, and I always admit, it was like for 3 seconds, but it's just not something you forget. And I could see his blue violet flames. And every day, not because he has short term memory loss, because he doesn't. I don't have to say it for his benefit or God's benefit. We don't pray repeatedly for their benefit. We do it to keep us consciously in that vibration. And I'll say that, thank you for unfolding, protecting, and surrounding me in your blue violet flames. And then there'll be different things I add if there's something I want to release, if there's a contract or agreement I've become aware of that I wasn't aware of that's causing a problem in my life. I'm going to want to revoke, renounce, and rescind that contract, pact, and agreement. People don't realize how much prior contracts, pacts, and agreements affect them today. And I was even talking with someone about karma, that karma only stays with you until you learn the lesson, and then it's done, it's over. It's not something you drag around with you. You don't have
Explain to people what you mean when you say karma, because I think there are a lot of definitions and a lot
cause
of
and effect.
misconceptions.
Let's just make it simple. Karma is cause and effect. That's
Yes.
what it is. Everything on this planet is cause and effect. God doesn't punish you, it's cause and effect. If you put this energy out, that's what you've created, is what you're going to get back. It really
So
is a
karma's not out to get you. Karma is not a bitch. Karma is just cause and effect. And maybe it feels that way if that's what you've attracted and what you have to transmute.
right. But that's the key, though. You can transmute it and be done with it. I worked with a lot of women in battered women's shelters, and probably because I was one for a time. And everybody who comes here is not, and who goes through these relationships isn't necessarily making a mistake, making poor judgment, stupid, or any of those negatives. Sometimes, because this is what I was shown, especially after I was raped, I like, why? Why did I open that door to him? Why did I let him in? I had broken up with him. All of this. And it was shown to me that I was one of those light workers. And there's so many of us here who agree to give that rapist or murderer or dictator an opportunity to do it better. That's what we signed up for. So when people are punishing people because of, oh, you made such a stupid mistake marrying him, or this, that, or the other thing, maybe they didn't make any mistake. Maybe that was solely their purpose to come here, to meet those people, or to be living in that country, to give these other people, because you're holding a light, you're holding a frequency that's high, and you're emitting it naturally without knowing it, and you're giving them an opportunity to do this better this time. And unfortunately, sadly, grievously, they don't many times. But the key, thank you, guidance is breaking in with this, is that when I once again raised my hand and said, I'll do this, I'll marry him, I'll give him a chance to do it better. They know that we're strong enough to survive it. But the key is, what is survival? Survival doesn't necessarily mean you live, physically, you stay, but it means that your spirit won't be broken, or rather, your soul won't be broken. Your soul will survive it. You have come far enough. You understand enough that when you cross over, if you don't physically survive, so if somebody was beaten and raped and murdered, it doesn't mean they did anything wrong. That may have been their contract to give that other person the opportunity not to do this. And then when they crossed over, because it was their contract, because they were strong enough, they immediately are just like that.
Barbara, you're giving people their power back.
And this is what, okay, this is what the church took away. This is what many religions took away.
Yeah.
They took away, they made Mary Magdalene into something she wasn't. They refused to credit her abilities. She was a healer. She was a fabulous, intuitive, mystic. I mean, everything she was. When I meditate, because Sophia has been talking to me for a long time, I just didn't realize the connection until recently. But many, many, many years ago, in a meditation, I was in Egypt, and I do a lot of out of body work consciously. Everybody does it. They're just not always conscious. And I was traveling in Egypt, and I saw myself go down in a tomb, and I was hearing Josie, Sophia, Josie, Sophia. And those were my names, Josie and Sophia. Lately, these last, maybe this week, I kept hearing Sophia, Sophia, Sophia. I'm like, who is here? Well, Sophia was here, and she was awakening that in me again. Sophia means wisdom, and that is that divine wisdom, like Mary Magdalene or the Divine Mother Mary, or any of the feminine energies have, that Kuan Yin, white buffalo calf woman. I was privileged to, and honored and grateful to be in the presence of Kuan Yin, and to be in the presence of white buffalo calf woman, and to be in the presence of Mother Cabrini decades after she passed. So I have this link, and everyone does. It's just a matter of, when do you wake up? When are you ready to know it? Because like my mom, she she wasn't ready when she saw her sister. When my mom woke up in the middle of the night and saw her sister standing in the corner of her room, my mother started screaming, "You're not here, you're not here, you're not here." And so immediately my aunt left. She's like, "Okay, I'm not here. I didn't mean to scare you. I'm sorry." So if we're not ready, we're not going to have these experiences. But
Yeah.
I would beseech everyone who's listening, if you're afraid of what's going on in the world today, then you need to get out of it in your meditation, and you need to reconnect with your soul purpose, with your contracts. Find out why you're here, and let everybody in the light help you, because you're not alone. I mean, sometimes when I'm doing a reading for someone and I see why they're afraid of this or why this keeps happening, they're going, "Oh my God, how did you know that?" I said, "Well, they're showing me your contract, but you don't have to keep it. You can end it if you understand it now." So this is multidimensional. We are multidimensional. Nothing is just cut and dry here. Everything's not what it appears to be. I cannot believe I talked about all these different topics. I don't know if
That's
that's
okay. This is great. This is wonderful. But I do want to have the discussion about that last near death experience that we didn't share with everybody on the last interview. So,
great.
this is the most recent one that you had, correct?
Yeah, this was in March of this year. I went in
So,
for
and by the way, these videos live in perpetuity. We're talking about March of 2025 because it could be time from now when somebody's watching this.
exactly. And I went in for an outpatient, easy breezy, nothing, not a big deal. But, it doesn't always go that way. And all I know that happened was I was out of my body, and I could hear the nurses yelling to get the anesthesiologist and get this person, get that person, and she's not breathing, and her pulse is slowed down, and all of this nonsense that they get through. And I just really didn't care. I was looking at, again, this very tall, lithe looking being, but he was more all the colors around him were like these amazing pinks and golds and whites. And he was so magnificent and gorgeous. And I'm, "Who are you?" I hadn't seen him before. And he said he was, oh God, I'm looking at what he's showing me. I need a minute to look at this, because he's taking me. I can't go now. He's transporting me back to Venus, because he wants me to remember what I saw, to share it. And what I saw, and I made an AI picture to try to bring it back. And he wants me to say that these are parallel universes. When I say Venus, it's not the Venus that scientists would say, "Oh, no life could exist there. It's just nothing but this, that, and the other thing." These are parallel universes, other dimensions. And he's using the word Venus, he's telling me, because that's what we denote to. And so that's what we'll understand. And it on my website, again, I have a picture of what I created in my Facebook page. It's pink and white and gold, and it's so gorgeous. It's so beautiful. And you feel like you're in this totally miraculous, blissful state. And he was telling me how this is our natural state of being. He's saying that right now. This is, and his name is Kraton, by the way. And he's saying this is your natural state of being. And a stone, thank you, I forgot about that. A stone that resonates with their vibration is the rhodochrosite. If people aren't familiar, and I usually have that here, but I don't have it on my desk right now. But the rhodochrosite one that I have, and again, that's a picture I'm pretty sure I have on my Facebook somewhere down in the postings and on my website. If it's on my website, I'm going to put it there because there's a little picture of like this ET face, and he's holding a ball of light. And it's extraordinary, really extraordinary. But what he's repeating again, he's saying, tell them that bliss you felt is your natural state. That is the natural state of being that we are in when we are fully connected with the light and with that highest frequency possible. And he said he brought me back there to remind me of that. He's telling me now because I will need it. and others will need it. And if you want to access this, you can just make this your intention in meditation. And people ask me very often, well, what did you do special to connect with John, Commander Spaceship Five? What did you do to connect with Kraton? And what did you do for the, and oh my God, I actually had somebody ask me what I eat. What do you eat that you do that? Like, do you drink wheatgrass? Well, I used to drink wheatgrass and run 3 miles a day, but no, I don't drink it anymore. And that's not what gave me any special abilities. Um, it's my willingness to love and to have empathy and compassion and to sit in meditation for 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 hours a day. I do that. And if there's a day that I am so busy, I am dialoguing all the time. I sometimes make jokes about me and say they're probably saying, "Oh God, it's her again." you know, but it's what I do because it's also real to me. So
So
no,
he took you then to the Venus, and did he show you other places outside of that or just that one
there's
place?
Venus because he's saying now, he says he wanted me to experience the frequency, it's bliss. It was absolute bliss.
Do you think that you're veiled in that place the way that we're veiled here, where we're separate from the consciousness of God in the sense that we remember that we're all one and we remember that we're that?
We're veiled by choice.
It's
I
part of the game here on Earth, correct?
You can call it a matrix if you want. Keanu Reeves was really great in that movie. And take the blue pill, take the red pill. Which way do you want to go? I mean, some people are just very earthbound, and all they believe about only thing they believe are their earthly possessions, and that's it. And you know what? And I know every person who had a near-death experience knows this. Every time I had a near-death experience, I didn't have any of my earthly possessions with me. None of them.
Of course not. Of course not. Well, so how did you come back to your body then after that experience?
Reluctantly. There must have been about 6 people in the room, and I remember I was trying to get the oxygen off of me, and I saw they were gonna something with the IV, and I said, "I don't want it," and I'm talking with this thing on my face, "I don't want it," and I was arguing, "I don't want it." And I've had those experiences before, and I'm sure a lot of people have had them. I mean, I had a surgery once, and this wasn't a near-death experience. It was an out-of-body experience, and I was up at the ceiling, and because I was bored, but I remember distinctly hearing the surgeon and another doctor telling this dirty joke. It wasn't about me. It was just a dirty joke. They thought it was funny, and they all laughed. And when I came back, I'll never forget this. Well, and I don't think about it, but they just brought it back to me. And the surgeon came in the next day or whatever it was to talk about how well things went. And I said, I just got to tell you something. Talking like that, using that kind of, language and making jokes when you're doing a surgery, I mean, it's not respectful. It's not. And then I realized his face was white. He was So people leave their body a lot. We just don't always know it. I just happen to be one of the people who knows it. And I've done this a lot. And before you go to sleep at night, one of the things you might want to do is program. I want to go to, let's say, for instance, I want to see the libraries in in the divine light. I want to go to the crystal library, and I want to read something I need to know that will help me and humanity, and I want to bring back that knowledge when I wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning, for instance. And when I do it, it happens.
Well, let's help humanity right here because you said something that was super interesting to me, which was the earth will shift very quickly soon. So this will be the last question I want to ask you, and then we'll give everybody an opportunity to find you.
Okay.
What do you think is shifting? What is coming very quickly, very soon?
I'm trying to think of I'm asking them, what category do you want me to say this in? First thing guidance is addressing is they're saying if you want to have some meager supplies on hand for your physical needs, have them. But that is not going to be what's going to make you comfortable. There are going to be shutdowns of the banking system. There are going to be shutdowns of the power grid. There are some wars that are going to be breaking out. There's going to be what they've shown me is I see this something of light that comes bursting out of the sky. And they've said, go inside and don't look at it. They told me that, like in a very defined tone, because it would be my nature to probably go outside and look at it. And they're saying those who are meant to remain on Earth will remain on Earth. Those who want to leave will leave because everybody's going to leave sooner or later anyway. And there will also be, and I've heard other channelers, I mean, I do direct channeling as well, where I'm more in a trance state. And we have seen the date change when the skies will be filled with spacecraft. We've seen it. But what I've also been shown, and I've drawn pictures of this latest spacecraft that I was shown, and it's just so amazingly intricate for my limited artistic abilities. And I showed it to someone who said, yeah, that makes, he's an engineer. And he said, that makes perfect sense. This is where the fuselage would go. This is where this would be. This would be, and I'm like, it doesn't make sense. He goes, yeah, because I didn't know what I was drawing. And they showed me that I've been trained on that spacecraft because there will be those of us who will be helping others and helping them. Okay, thank you. To get on telepathically. And I saw this in Atlantis, and I've always remembered it. And I remember telepathically telling people where to go and to get to a higher place. And I remember looking to God and saying, we knew it, but we did it anyway. And that's repeating itself as it is seen now. People go back and say, we knew it, but we did it anyway. We didn't listen. We should have listened, and we didn't. But guidance doesn't see things in terms of victims. They don't see that. They see things in terms of people are awake or they're not awake. That's see. You're at this vibration or this vibration. And there was a whole discussion going on about heaven. And heaven isn't a place, heaven is a frequency. It's a state of consciousness and it's a frequency.
Yes.
So everybody's leaving this earth one way or another. It was never intended to be any other way. And you wouldn't want it any other way because this is a kind of harsh place to be. That's my feeling about it, at least.
So can you ask your guidance that have been talking to you the whole time? Can they give us any kind of an idea of how soon?
Right. Time frame.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they're saying time frame, time frame, time frame.
They heard me.
It was about 4 years ago when I predicted the unrest that was going to happen in the United States. A friend of mine, when a lot of things started, she said, "Oh my God, I found my notes." And she says, at that time, it was 4 years ago. She says, when you said 2025, she said that was so far off. I'm like, who knows? It's a shot in the dark. I said, and I even predicted who would be president. Somebody else called and told me that, and who said, I can't believe that this happened. You described him right to a T. So again, I didn't keep the notes, so I didn't know. So the time frame changes only because of that little bit of free will we have. So when they started out, the spacecraft were going to be seen in 2025. Well, a lot have been seen in 2025 and even before this year. But now it's extended all the way through 2027.
Okay.
There are beings of light, ascended masters, only have certain degrees to which they can influence us because we have to make that choice ourselves. And they're working to influence what they call the peacemakers. That's how they refer to them when they speak to me, is they're influencing the peacemakers to the extent that they're allowed to. But all of this is a spiritual war. This isn't about politics. This is all about the disconnection from our own divinity,
Mm.
our own inner wisdom. It's
Yeah.
a spiritual war. It's really not a political war, even though that's what it's being labeled.
Well, I think that this is really helpful. I think that you've given people maybe who were not aware a new perspective. We talked in the very beginning about how to get your power back. So if you need more help, go back to the beginning of this video and watch it again. But Barbara, every time I talk to you, I am just amazed at the wisdom that you've accumulated through these near death experiences. And I'm sure people watching will want to connect with you. So tell us about your website because I know you've got that and anything else that you'd like to share.
Okay, thank you, sweetie. My website is answersfromthelight.com because that's where I get all my
Of
information.
course it is.
Yeah, that's it. So when I was thinking of a name for my website, it was, I know it's long, but all I could think of is Answers from the Light because that's where everything comes from, our power, our healing, everything. And some of us in human form are really pretty good conduits for bringing those answers from the light. And
Mm.
that's one of the things that I was brought here to do. So, yeah, if you want to make an appointment with me, you can do that through my website. And if my assistant Leah will contact you, and if you let her know that you that you saw me on Beautiful Lori's podcast, you will receive a very significant discount. And
Oh, that's so generous. Thank you so much.
oh,
Barbara, as always, the
thank
time goes too fast with you. I learn something new every time. I so appreciate what you're doing. Thank you for your willingness to come back on. Aw, I love it. And thank you so much.
our child loves to play.
Thank you so much for what you are doing to help wake up the collective. It's needed now more than ever.
You, sweetie. Thank you. I'll see you again.
And of course, this show is absolutely nothing without all of you who tune in to watch and listen and share these messages. So thank you for what you are doing to help wake up the collective. And thank you for watching. This channel's for seekers, for hearts who remember there's something more. Subscribe to join the awakening.